Hi, welcome to our review of biochemistry, and we're going to start this video with a review of what are carbohydrates. And what do we look at when we look at carbohydrates? Well, we look at these three elements: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And certainly, since they have carbon and hydrogen, we say that they are organic, whereas as opposed to inorganic, not having both carbon and hydrogen. Okay, we typically think of carbohydrates as sugars and starches, and that's mostly true there. There are some other types of carbohydrates as well, we'll get to later. They're a good source of energy. Think of quick energy when we think of carbohydrates, usually certainly sugars. The sugars that we look at a lot of times are glucose, fructose, and sucrose. We also look at maltose. Anything ending in OSE is typically a sugar. Now, polysaccharides, they include starch. That's the plant polysaccharide where plants store up their extra glucose monomers in that large molecule. And there's cellulose, which makes up the plant cell walls, and glycogen, which is actually the animal starch or the animal polysaccharide that we usually store up our extra glucose in muscles and in liver. Okay, well, we're to take a look at the monosaccharides. What is that? If we look at this word, mono meaning one, saccharide is a carbohydrate, so this is one subunit of a carbohydrate. So we say it's a single unit of a carbohydrate, the simplest ones we have. Again, are glucose or fructose, galactose, all examples. And I have the formula here, molecular formula of glucose, C6H12O6. And here's our structural formula. I don't have all the hydrogens drawn in, but that is basically the basic structure. And if we look here, there's of course there's carbon in that molecule, and hydrate. There's this 2-to-1 ratio of hydrogen to oxygen, so it's 12-to-6 or 2-to-1. And all carbohydrates follow that rule. Okay, so again, we have our monomer or monosaccharide. Typically, it could be glucose. And what we're going to do now, if we have two of them side by side. And we're going to try to bond them together. So if we scroll up just a little bit more, well, what do we need to take out? Well, we need to take out a hydrogen from one side. Take this hydrogen over here. And we take an OH from this side. So take the oxygen and the hydrogen from that side. And of course, let's put that over somewhere off to the side or something. Okay. And more off to the side. Let's see if we can get that. Okay, and now there's this molecule's oxygen is ready to bond with this carbon over here. So we can just bring that a little closer here. And oops, too far. We should be able to get it to bond. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now what we've done is we've made a more complex molecule. We consider that synthesis. And we also took water out, which we call that dehydrate. So this whole process, which I just demonstrated, was an example of dehydration synthesis. So remember, we make a more complicated molecule, this disaccharide, taking water out. We can continue on, and our next level would be polysaccharides. Remember, mono meaning one, di meaning two, poly is many. So this is more than two subunits. So what are these? These are starches, again, the plant polysaccharide, cellulose, found in cell walls, and glycogen, the animal polysaccharide. Composed of repeating monomers of simple sugars. So we can see this example. You can imagine if we did a lot of dehydration synthesis, every single one of these bonds between these monomers were formed from dehydration synthesis. And we can just keep chaining these together to get a longer polysaccharide. Okay, I do hope that you learned something from this video and that you use this to study, and hopefully we'll be making some more to help you. All right, and that's it.